Education is the fundamental right of every individual. The right to education also includes a responsibility to provide basic education at the primary and secondary levels, to avoid discrimination at all levels of the educational system, and to improve the quality of education. According to UNICEF, 1 in every 5 out-of-school children is in Nigeria. Even though basic education should be free and every child has the right to access this, about 10.5 million Nigerian children between 5 and 14 years are not in school.
A lot is changing in the world today, and changing fast. Change is a good thing. For instance, innovation has driven enormous advancement in certain fields, like in banking and finance, in ICT, manufacturing sector, even in the entertainment sector. If you look back 20, 30 years ago, you will realize that much progress has been made in these sectors. Sadly, the same progress is not reflected in the education sector in Nigeria, and we could ask ourselves, why is that?
The Universal Basic Education Fund was created to ensure free access to basic education and to improve the learning environment in the country. However, its inadequacies and challenges in implementation have necessitated the emergence of other educational development stakeholders to fill in gaps in improvement of learning conditions and driving educational reform.
At EduTrust, we realize that the government alone at the federal and state levels cannot meet the huge need in the education sector. To meet the need would entail various stakeholders acting together. This will involve the public sector, the private sector, the people sector, the citizens of Nigeria, and development partners. We focus on delivering educational resources and tools that are affordable, accessible, and usable for all Nigerians.
Learning in the 21st century has become much broader than the subject-focused classroom curriculum based on the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. As such, schools' curriculum should be broadened to include creativity and innovation, collaboration, communication skills, digital literacy, and many other life skills.
Teaching and learning are opposite sides of the same coin. But then we realized that most of the intervention projects for the education sector in Nigeria, they lay more emphasis on the student's perspective. What quality of teachers and tutors, educators do we have? Are they enough to meet the required standard for the 21st century child? Because education is evolving, so the kind of education our tutors, the kind of trainings they have should also evolve. So we lay emphasis on projects that could evolve and train the teachers too.
The informal education sector in Nigeria has also grown in recent times as human capacity development and entrepreneurship have become a major focus for empowerment and job creation by both the government and the private sector. In Nigeria today, having a degree or a certificate is no longer a guarantee for a job or sufficient to create a valuable niche for sustainable livelihood. Yet, our school systems seem to be designed to produce exactly that, churn out degrees and certificates. Employers and future-focused industries now look for well-rounded individuals with relevant skills who can jumpstart trends, solve problems, and make an impact.
At EduTrust, we realize that the link between people and substantial livelihood is education. Through this, we have been able to readdress the bulge in unemployed school leavers and restive youth in Nigeria through job creation, entrepreneurship, and innovative use of our local resources. I am a proud Nigerian graduate, and I believe that education does not start and end with just going to school and getting your certificate. It goes beyond trying to add positively to the society at large.
Every day, students, graduates, and teachers alike seek out greener pastures outside the shores of our dear country in the most significant brain drain in human history. To address and reverse this trend, it is imperative to take a critical look at the quality of education offered in Nigeria and the impact of the bodies directly making, implementing, or influencing educational policies, including the Ministries of Education, National Universities Commission, Academic Staff Union of Universities, and the National Union of Teachers.
We realize that to attain accelerated development, particularly on Sustainable Development Goals 4 and 8, would involve these stakeholders doing different things and doing things differently. This is why at EduTrust we are driven by innovation, and our efforts are driven towards supplementing the efforts of the government and not to supplant the efforts of the government.
How well are our schools' curriculum adapting to the new learning environment of the 21st century? And how well equipped are our educational institutions and facilities? What new methods and tools are being employed for teaching and learning in our schools to breed a new wave of graduates who can meet the demands of the workplace of the 21st century?
If you look at the curriculum of schools in Nigeria today, you will realize that the way curriculum is designed and the way teaching is delivered leaves over 50 million school children in Nigeria deprived in one way or another. That needs to change, because the risk is that for the future, those that are left behind, those that have carved out an existence for themselves outside of the formal school system, they will become a greater burden for the society in the future if nothing is done. This needs to change, and this is the mission of EduTrust.
What is the cost of acquiring quality education in Nigeria today, and what percentage of the populace can afford it? At EduTrust, we address these critical questions because we seek to create a society in which access to quality education at all levels is equitably distributed and where the potentials of youth, learning and balanced development are unlocked.
We realize that in this age, a lot of students and the young population, they spend a lot of time on social media platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter. So we take advantage of this opportunity and plug into the educational sector and provide learning and teaching materials that are best suited for this medium. So this way, what they should learn is disseminated, so they get these materials while they solve the need.
We are committed to expanding access to education in Nigeria by reaching students, communities and populations underserved and unserved by the formal school sector.
The kind of educational needs people have in different parts of the countries vary. What they might need in Enugu might not be the same thing with Zamfara State, for example. So we recognize this and we apply this when we're planning projects for educational reforms in the country.
In EduTrust, we believe in people. We work with people. We derive our strength from teamwork. We collaborate extensively with the public sector, the private sector, the people themselves who need our services. We believe in national development, and this carries all persons and organizations with it. We also believe in recognizing the impact of initiators in the field of education.
At EduTrust, we have identified education to be that key element which will have a chain reaction on all the overall development of Nigeria. Education equals development. That's a fact.
We are convinced that responsible investment in education will have a ripple effect in the development of all sectors of the economy, starting from the family, down to the health sector, banking, trade and commerce, entrepreneurship, ICT, and nation building at large.